Listen, I had a longer video that I was going to drop, but I decided to scrap it. Reason being, I have a problem and I identified the problem quite a while ago, and I'm trying to get better with that problem. The problem that I have is when I see things within discussions that typically defy logic or go against logic and reasoning and et cetera, et cetera. When I see people make bad arguments, when I see people make straw man arguments and things like that, et cetera, et cetera, the way that I identify all of these things is stupidity. And I am very comfortable labeling things that are not logically sound or belligerent and et cetera, et cetera. And I'll be honest that I typically disagree with. I typically label these actions and things as stupid. So that is a problem that I have. That's just me being transparent with you guys. So what I set out to do is better identify exactly what's going on instead of just calling it stupid. Now, I'm going to point out something to you, and this is going to be the concept of this video. Just to let you give you a heads up, we're going to react to some footage, we're going to react to some posts and things of that nature so that I can get my point across. But this is the main thing that you need to know. Most of the issues that I'm talking about when I say things are stupid, they come from a place where the other person has an emotional bias and it causes them to say irrational things or act irrational, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's unpack that a bit before we get into this. So there are 4 hot topics that I mentioned that will always end up or often end up with heated debates and emotional debates. Those topics are race, religion, politics, sex. Let's go through some of these very quickly. Now, as far as relationships, that's what we talk about mainly on this channel. So that would be in the sex category to some degree. But also you could say that the LGBTQ stuff, that would be in the sex category as well, et cetera, et cetera. When you get to race, you know, I discussed that a little bit on the channel. This channel is not centered around race, but you can use your imagination when it comes to race. You know the topics like, we'll just say like Trayvon Martin or something like that. That was a very polarizing, emotional topic when it happened. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But the other things, when you look at politics, just think about this very quickly. Like 91% of black women voted for Kamala Harris, right? I've seen, because a guy was trolling about like, you know, this whole election and stuff like that with Kamala and stuff like that. I've seen a woman tell a guy that his mom is a bitch and that he's a bitch because he was trolling about Kamala in the election and like doing some pro-Trump stuff. Is that so? That a political discourse or disagreement shouldn't result in somebody calling somebody's mom a bitch. But that happens because the person who is on the other end of the trolling becomes emotional about politics. And listen, this didn't just start today. This has been going on since the dawn of American politics. Like, it's been going on the whole time. So with politics, you know, it can get very heated. But the other one is religion, and I'm not going to touch on religion at all. You can do your exploration on that. Now, let's go back to race, and let's go back to Trayvon Martin. So I said that that's a very polarizing one. And what I used to do when that happened, a lot of the white people that I was around, a lot of the white people I work with that I knew, et cetera, they began to show their true colors around that time. When the Zimmerman verdict came out, they were happy that Zimmerman got off. So that was very shocking and alarming to me. But during the 2010s, they began to cover a lot of police brutality, shootings, and things of that nature. So with this is the first time I began to notice strong emotional biases, because I used to have debates with people who I would consider racist, But at the time, I didn't consider them racist. What I thought was, yo, they just don't understand. So what I tried to do was have a logical conversation with them that would turn into a debate. And my whole place, the place where I was coming from was, they just don't understand. Let me help them understand. But after so long, after seeing people defy logic so crazy, after seeing people go out of their way to, just go against logic, go like and say ridiculous things just so they could hold their stance, that was the first time I really realized this concept. And what I realized is that a lot of these people have a deep rooted hatred for black people. And nothing I say can change that. And actually, they do not want to have a civil debate. They don't want to have a logical debate. They do not want their mind to be changed. They just want to get their anger off. They just want to get their hatred off. That's all it is. So once I realized that, that is when I began to debate with these individuals from a hostile place, meaning I'm here to embarrass you. I'm here to make an example out of you for the other people watching. And I'm probably even going to make fun of you at some point, depending on how I want this to go. This is not a good faith debate at all. And the fact that, sometimes they would have arguments that may sound good or that may even be good. That's very rare in those cases, as far as like, oh, Tamir Rice, like a 9-year-old, like as soon as the cop got out of the car in Cleveland, he shot the kid, like didn't even hesitate, didn't even get in a stance, didn't give him a warning, didn't say nothing. He just shot the child immediately. You'll have people who will passionately debate that he deserved to get shot, the child deserved to get shot. And while you're doing the debate, they will say something absolutely nonsensical. And that's where I begin to say, oh, you're a fucking idiot. You're stupid. That's where I begin to say that. But again, it is just their emotional bias. They have a strong emotional bias that enables them to defy logic because the emotions are so strong. That's actually what's going on. So we're going to watch a clip of Cooley debating with a chick on the No Fugazi podcast, and we'll get into some other things like some comments a little bit after that.
That's all. You here to debate? All right. What you want to debate about?
Why are you so disrespectful on your podcast? Question.
Why am I so disrespectful on my podcast? That will be a subjective question.
I don't care what kind of question. I just want you to just answer. Don't be kind.
Yeah, that's a subjective question, meaning that you may think that I'm disrespectful. I would answer that and say that I'm not disrespectful.
Okay, why are you so disrespectful? You say things to women like you have a low IQ or you're ugly.
You just asked a question that was a low IQ question because it was subjective, and I would deem it as I'm not disrespectful.
But I want you to answer it.
I just answered it. I'm not disrespectful.
Why do you say things like that to women? Why?
Say what?
When you already stated that, that's why you don't have men on your podcast. But it's okay to have women on your podcast and talk to them like that. Why?
Wait, what are you talking about? Rewind it back. You asked the question properly. I've already answered that question. I said I'm not disrespectful. So what's your next question?
This is nice, though.
So after watching that exchange, the easy thing to say, and I'll just say for me to say, is that she's an idiot. It would be easy for me to say that. It would be easy for you to agree. But let's identify what is going on and what makes this a bad exchange. So she asked a question. Why are you disrespectful to women? He says that is a subjective question. She says, I don't care what type of question it is. Just answer the question. He then tries to, because she may not understand why he is saying it's a subjective question. But so he then goes to try and explain what a subjective question is. She begins to cut him off and talk. Now, when she begins to cut him off and talk, just to ask the same question again and throw some bullshit in there, just some nonsensical shit, he then answers the question by saying, "I'm not disrespectful." That is not a satisfactory answer for her. So instead of taking a moment to get her thoughts together and form a better question, she then says some nonsense about that's why you only have women on your podcast. You said you won't have men on your It's like, what are you even and that's when he's like, he's taken aback because he's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? She says, why do you say things like that to women, that you have low IQ and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera? But then she ends it again with, why are you so disrespectful? You're asking the same question that you already asked, that he already answered. How about you formulate a better question? Now, he tells her that for the last time. And what does she do? She's paying attention to somebody in the background, and she says, this is good, though. And it's just like, what the fuck? Are you even here? Are you even here? So this is what's going on. She doesn't have a real desire to listen at all. She doesn't have a desire to listen. She doesn't have a desire to comprehend. She doesn't have a desire to have a constructive dialogue. So when you look at those things that I just mentioned, all those things that I just mentioned, that is going to lead to all of the behavior that you see throughout this clip. It's just going to be a bunch of weird shit and just a bunch of nonsensical statements. And it's easy to say, okay, this is fucking stupid, but this is what it is. She doesn't like him. It is a emotional bias against him because she feels like he is disrespectful to women. She does not like his podcast. She is a single mom, and him saying single moms are for recreational use only triggered her. So when it comes down to this discussion, she really doesn't want to hear what he has to say. And even then, the answer that she got was not satisfactory enough for her. So she asked the same question 4 or 5 times. I can't tell you what she's looking for when she keeps asking that question. But to hear the answer and not understand that that is a reasonable answer, or you think it's an unsatisfactory answer, what you should do at that point is reposition the question, or what I would recommend doing at that point is making a statement and saying, listen, you saying single moms are for recreational use is absolutely disrespectful. That is, and then even mentioning to him, that is where we disagree. How can you think that insulting single moms is not disrespectful? How can you think that? That's how she should have framed it. And the one thing that I forgot to mention, another one of the behaviors that go hand in hand with everything else that I mentioned, is her cutting him off while he is talking, not letting him finish. It shows that she really doesn't care what he is saying. It's just not what she wants to hear. The moment he begins to speak, she wants to rebuttal, or she just wants to repeat the question that she already mentioned. So let's get to more of the clip.
Listen, are you staying or are you going?
We here. It's 2 of us here.
Okay, we here. Okay, cool. So you asked the question, well, why did you state that was womenese? I played that clip so you can get the full context and the truth. And I'll answer your question very precisely and concise. I spoke about tiers. Tiers is the percentile that a man is in. The tiers that the percentile is a man is in is what women are attracted to, which is generally speaking, women are attracted. Okay, you got to stop smoking too much weed. Why are you coughing like that? You smoke marijuana? Cut the weed out. All right, listen, please pay attention. Look, I spoke about the tier that I am in, the percentile, meaning women are attracted to height, race, and income. Generally speaking, these are the woman's prerequisites, right? Meaning that the man has to meet the woman's prerequisites before she even cares about his personality, his good character, and his good morals. I spoke about tears, and that woman, that delusional Donnie woman, spoke about values. The reason why she spoke about values is because she wasn't active listening. She was coming from an emotional standpoint. So I said that you're speaking womanese, because even if you met that man that embodied all those good values that she listed, if he was 5'2" and broke, she wouldn't give him a chance.
Who
That's
would give
called
anybody
womanese. That's
5'2" and
called
broke
women
a
that's
chance?
not
It doesn't make
listening.
sense for you to say that.
All right. Well,
Who's
listen.
giving anybody 5'2" that's broke? And who's giving anybody 6'4" that's broke? Like, what are you talking about? You
You're
said that.
proving my point. You're proving my point. So, meaning, can you agree to this, that
I
before
agree
you
that
even give
he
a
was
man a
speaking of a
chance,
top tier man. I agree that he was
got
speaking
it.
of a
Listen,
top tier man.
One mic at a
And
time.
you
You're not
couldn't take
listening. I
it.
need you to active listen.
And you couldn't
I
take
need you
it.
to active listen.
So basically, he's trying to make his argument, right? You could see through her body language. She is not listening to anything he said. You could tell by her response, her saying, "Who wants to be with a broke guy, a broke short guy?" She doesn't even understand the concept of what he's talking about, because she's agreeing with him. He's saying that these are the things the women want, and her comments are in alignment with the things that women want and don't want, et cetera, et cetera. So it's in alignment with what he's saying. He then tries to position a question so that they get, because he's trying to make his argument. She is not trying to hear it. She begins to cut him off because she don't like what she hearing, and she don't really want to comprehend. It goes back to everything that I mentioned earlier. I really don't understand why she's here, other than, like, you could look and see that she's actually kind of just amused with the fact that she's on the internet and that she's talking to a guy that she's seen in all these meet. Like, she's happy to just be there. She's not really trying to have a real discussion. Now, you could go to the No Fugazi channel and watch the clip of that if you want to watch that whole brain dead debate. But we're going to move on to some different examples because of time and because I want to get some more shit off. So let's go to those. So I'm going to try and breeze through some of these examples. So on the video I did about Cooley, where he had all the receipts and et cetera, an individual who didn't agree with me or with Cooley and stuff like that, which is fine if people don't agree. He says he doesn't consider himself high value, yet talks about valuing topics and make it make sense. It's like listening to someone discuss how to earn money without ever having made themselves any. I'm going to give this to you very plain and very simple because I thought this was a stupid comment. So did the person below me. They said you can't be this slow. So that's how you know it's not just me who thinks this. So when we look at the first sentence grammatically, it just doesn't even make sense. I'm not going to reread it to save time. And when we get past the grammar, let's just look at it very quickly and analyze it. He doesn't consider himself high value. That is correct. Yet he talks about valuing topics. What do you mean as far as valuing topics? You mean like the tiers and things like that he discussed earlier in the video? So he talks about basically how men are valued by women. We're going to go with that as far as air quote valuing topics and make it make sense. So that just didn't even serve a purpose and make it make sense. That's the part that fucks the whole sentence. So let's just look at those two things very quickly. He doesn't consider himself high value, yet he talks about valuing topics. Do you have to be high value to talk about air quote valuing topics or what women are attracted to? Absolutely not. I'm going to give you a perfect example on that. Robert Greene wrote The Art of Seduction and the 48 Laws of Power and 100 Strategies of War. He hasn't been to war. He's probably not Mr. Bitches. And he's probably not the most powerful guy. Yet he studied all these powerful people, all these seductive people, all these warlords throughout history and made books about it. Now, the funny thing, when it comes to a place like prison where there are a bunch of power dynamics and things like that, that's where the 48 Laws of Power sells the most. That they love that book so much in the prisons that they banned it from the prisons. It's a book that teaches people how to manipulate and things of that nature, and it teaches people how power dynamics work and etc. So this is somebody who is not a highly powerful guy, yet he wrote a book on this shit, and it's helped a lot of people get into powerful positions. So let's go to the second sentence. It's like this someone discussing how to earn money without ever having made any themselves. Now, with the Robert Greene example, I already obliterated that, but let me take it a step further as far as making money. Let's just pretend I am absolutely fucking broke. I am down bad. I have read books by Tony Robbins on money. I've read books by Robert Kiyosaki on money. And I've read books by Ramit Sethi on money. All three of those guys are multi-millionaires. Multi-millionaires. Not just that, they are financial gurus. So when it comes, not Tony Robbins necessarily, but when you look at those people and the information that they give, right? And I'm going to give a great counterexample on this. When you look at the information that they give, if I take the information, and one thing that Ramit Sethi says is the safest investment, if you're going to put it in the stock market, is investing in index funds. And he has all these statistics and things like that to back it up. If I go to somebody as a broke individual and say, yo, the safest investment is to invest in index funds if you're going to invest in the stock market, and I give them a bunch of statistics and things like that, you could look at me and you could say, you're broke. I'm not going to follow that advice because it came from you. Now, I'm not going to lie. That would be wise of you to not follow it because of who it is coming from. Now, if I validate it by saying, well, I learned this from XYZ, then you may say, okay, you may take it with a grain of salt. But this is the key. The information is the information. It doesn't matter who it actually comes from. If it's factual and it's valuable and it can elevate you, that's all that matters. That's all that actually matters. Who the information comes from only validates the information in your mind. If it's good information or good advice, it doesn't matter who it actually comes from. And to articulate that a little better, if it is objectively right, if it is objectively going to get you further, then that means it is good advice. As far as who it comes from, that just validates the advice in your mind. Oh, it came from a rich person, so it must be good. Let me give you a great example. The counterexample I said I was going to give. Grant Cardone has said a lot of shit. And you would think that just because he gets money, that makes his advice good. Well, he sat down with Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, and he looked like a fucking fool when he was talking to him about money. And not only do they disagree highly when it comes to that topic, Grant Cardone was on Vlad TV saying he doesn't own a house and just to rent houses and et cetera, et cetera. That's what he was pushing. Now he owns a house. He actually owns a house. So just because a person has money, that doesn't mean that the advice that they give is always valid. It's always good. So when we evaluate this comment, it doesn't make sense. That is why I say it's stupid. So a minute ago, I did a video about OF girls and stuff like that. I'm going to play you a clip from the beginning of the video.
Everybody had an OnlyFans, and like I was hanging out with people who had it. So like, you know, I kind of got like, I had a boyfriend at the time who was like, fuck it, do it. So I was like, sure, why not? It wasn't bad. It was all implied. So really, I was just out here finessing men.
Yeah.
But you know, I got my money, and then all those men that would like follow me on OnlyFans would also be in my DMs. So I feel like they're probably like, damn, like I still get DMs like, why did you leave your OnlyFans? And I'm like,
is the
like, I wouldn't even know how to go about it, because I know I'm still gonna have men that are like, oh, but like, why aren't you posting this, or like, you know, just bombarding my stuff. And back then, what I had was a manager, so they weren't talking to me directly.
So I want you to know two things, and this is at the very start of the video. Two things is that she said it was implied nudity, so she was finessing men. She said finessing. She said, if you don't know the lingo, Finessing is scamming, bamboozling, stealing, robbing, etc., etc. So she was finessing men. Now, outside of that, the other thing that she said was they thought they were talking to me, but they were talking to my manager. It would be safe to assume that the manager was a guy, but she did not say that in a clip. I can't remember if she said that in the full video, but regardless, the manager isn't her. So ultimately, when I did the video, there were two things that I mentioned. Number one, she's a scammer. But number two, the point that I was trying to drive to men who buy OnlyFans is that these chicks fucking hate you. So let's read one of the comments that was there. Sounds like a man problem. That is a dumb comment because this is a man channel. So of course it's a man problem. Like nobody asked you to come here. But I'll get to that in a moment. She says, maybe y'all should stop thinking with your penis and giving us money for photos. So you got to understand one thing. This is somebody who is for OnlyFans, may even do OnlyFans, may just be a whore, whatever the case may be. But this is somebody who is pro OnlyFans. They've come across the video. A lot of them had came to this video and bombarded it with comments. But as far as her, she's pro OnlyFans. So all this comment is, she just came to be condescending. That is it. This is a comment that provides no value, but the stupidity of it, again, is sounds like a man problem. Of fucking course, this is a man channel, you stupid motherfucker. And that boils down to not only just a lack of awareness, but when we talk about emotional biases, again, like she's not capable of empathizing with the men who are getting scammed and finessed and things like that. She is not capable of that. Let's move on to this last comment. Same video, more than likely by a woman. She says, stop acting like men are there out of the kindness of their hearts. They are there to pay for a service. I don't get the sense of entitlement to anything else. You got what you paid for, sir. Stop talking like you are owed anything else. Now, the reason that this is stupid, I get into in my comment. I'm just going to read the comment and we'll elaborate on it a little bit more. But you people who type this stuff aren't critical thinkers, is what I say. The kindness comment is irrelevant as far, and we'll get into that later. As far as the service, they're actually not getting what they paid for. They're paying for intimacy from a woman. They're getting intimacy from a man. Now, let me correct that because I can't remember if in the full clip, she mentioned that it was a man. They're not getting intimacy from the woman that they sign up to get the intimacy from. We will say that. They're under the guise, they're subscribing under the guise that they will get to talk to her. They're talking to somebody else. But let's continue. They want to see nude photos. The woman in the clip, in all caps, admitted out of her own mouth and bragged about doing implied nudity and literally said, I was out here finessing men. That is her actual quote. Yet this is what you type. So actually, no, they're not having their expectations met. So they're not, air quote, getting what they paid for. So you would think I obliterated that comment, right? Nope. They just kept going. They kept writing and writing. They didn't really care what I said. They kept spewing more nonsense. And the reason that they did that is because of the emotional bias that they have. They're either OnlyFans chicks themselves, or they like OnlyFans chicks, like as far as their friends and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. They may even be just whores themselves, but they see themselves within that woman to some degree, so they can pretty much put themselves in her shoes as far as empathizing with the woman, but they can't empathize with the man that is getting scammed. So when you look at that, you begin to get a bunch of nonsense as far as the reply that she made. Nowhere in the video am I acting like these guys are paying for what they're paying for out of the kindness of their heart. We all know they're paying because they're horny, and even some cases lonely. That is why they are paying. So nobody is acting like that. But as far as them getting what they paid for, it doesn't take watching the whole video to find out that's not what she is getting or what they're getting. She said out of her own mouth, that she is finessing men. She said that out of her own mouth. And then this stupid motherfucker right here, because of the bias, they overlooked that completely. They completely overlooked that. Let's not even say that they overlook it. What they do, they feign ignorance. What she is doing in this comment, it is ignorance on purpose. Like, she is purposefully being ignorant. Because it's in the clip. It's in the clip. You see it, it's in the clip. She literally says that she is finessing these guys. And you're going to sit here and type that these guys are getting the service that they paid for. No, they are being scammed. And it's that simple. I don't have to unpack it anymore. So the fact that we even have to debate about this or have a back and forth, or the fact that you even tried to make that the point that you want to stand on, it would sound cool to say, well, maybe she overlooked it or maybe she forgot. It's the very first thing in the video that you watch. Like, it's the very first clip in that video. And she's literally saying out her mouth. She's saying out her own mouth, I finesse men. So it's like the fact that I even had to write that paragraph. It's like you got to be a tremendous fucking idiot. But again, all it is, that emotional bias compelled her to write the comment, because that clip was only like 60 seconds. It was only somewhere in the ballpark of 60 seconds. As far as me talking, I'm talking for 10 minutes. And through that 10 minutes, she got triggered and wrote this comment. And it's disingenuous. That is all I have for you today. I want you to know, man, this video took a lot for me to do because I got a lot going on. So, bro, it took me literally like 3 days to do this shit, man. So please put a like on the vid if you watch this, man. I'll catch y'all, man. Leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think.